Yesterday, we left off talking about convergent boundaries. There's one more type of boundary that we need to talk about, and that's called a transform boundary. The transform boundary is probably one of the most common that we see around here. Actually, our boundary around here is a combination of convergent and transform. Transform boundaries are side-by-side movement. Side by side movement. And the way it works is like this. Actually, I'm gonna do just a little bit of an erasing. So, in this type of boundary, there is a movement of the plates that is side by side. And it could be a situation where one plate drops below another plate. This is the case for the San Andreas Fault. And the San Andreas Fault is one that where the two plate boundaries move like this. Instead of going apart like in divergence or together in convergence, they go side by side. Yeah. Yeah. So we can illustrate that by drawing some railroad tracks. So if there was a railroad track, for instance, that was coming along in here, and here's the trackways. Since this plate here is moved this way, that railroad track would come out over here, far away, and it would offset the railroad track so that the railroad track would no longer be together. And this actually happens with creeks and rivers, fences and roads, where the fault actually offsets. And scientists estimate that if this were the San Andreas Fault, for instance, they estimate that that this is the North American plate here. And this is the Pacific plate. And in fact, where you have the San Andreas Fault in our area, there's a little bit of movement that is divergent or coming apart. That's where this part comes in, this part right here. Right there, because it pulls apart, it pulls the two plates apart, but it's also going side by side at the same time. And because of that, it's a really complex movement, and it's more a movement side by side than it is apart. And in some places it's coming together. In some places it's convergent. So the actual movement on the San Andreas Fault is really super complex, being one way in one spot and one way in another. But it's super active. Super active. Yeah.
So, there's this hike near my house, which is like a walk, and this movement in the one way of the earthquake, it was like the trail was like this, and the part of it just dropped 4 feet off.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like a 4-foot straight off drop.
Yeah. 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 The San Andreas Fault has really made our area interesting, to say the least. And there's all kinds of evidence around here for that, that we'll get into. So I just want to add one word here that I forgot to put in: side-by-side movement. Movement. Okay? All right. So that's the third type of plate boundary that we're going to learn about. And we will